الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على خيرة خلق الله أجمعين وهو رحمة الله للعالمين وهو أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الميامين المهديين المعصومين المظلومين المقتولين ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال صاحب العصر والزمان في دعائه دعاء الندبة: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أين السبب والمتصل بين الأرض والسماء? The Imam of the time says in his supplication known as Dua Nudba, it's a very famous supplication. It's narrated by both the 6th Imam and the 12th Imam. There's a long story to that. We don't have time to go through all of that, except the fact that it is very famously narrated. There's many different sources for this. I wouldn't even call it a supplication. Well, it is a supplication mixed with nudba, mourning. It's a supplication of mourning, really. Narrated from both our 6th Imam and from the 12th Imam, which is quite interesting. So it's kind of shows it's like a tradition going from the Imams and then retransmitted again by the Imam of our time. And it is mustahab to be recited on the 4 Eids. And in this, he teaches us how to understand him. See, the Imam does this quite often. He does this in Dua Nudba, and he does this in other places. And in this dua, which is mustahab to recite, as I said, on the 4 Eids, he says, where is the cause or the reason between the heaven and the earth? Here he's referring to himself. أين سبب المتصل بين الأرض والسماء? That where is that cause that is connecting the heaven and the earth together? Let's pause here for a moment. People ask me, well, what's the use of having an imam that I cannot physically see? The imam answers it right here at the very beginning. What is the implications of not having an imam? The implications of not having an imam is not having existence. The imam is that cause that Allah has created. So for example, in order for electricity to arrive, there's a process. There's a physical process by which electricity arrives. It doesn't just come. Here the imam is saying that he is that sabab that Allah has created between the heavens and the earth, meaning for existence itself. So before we get into the practical implications of the imam in our life, it's really an argument from ontology, we would say. Ontology meaning wujud, existence, being, essence. The very essence of hayat, the very essence of life. Itself, the linchpin, or its fulcrum, its foundation, it's the pin that holds it all together is the hujjah. That's the meaning of hujjatullah ala al-ard, or fil ard, ala al-khalq wa fil ard. The proof of God in existence and upon creation. أين السبب المتصل بين الأرض والسماء? We read this in Dua Nudba. But then people may say, oh, you're just choosing one line from something and bringing it here and presenting it as if this is our belief. Anyone can find something somewhere and present it. No. Let's go to the letters of Sahib al-Zaman. This is a dua of dua known as Dua Nudba. Let's go to the letters of the Imam. In one of those letters, very famously narrated in the early sources of Islam, such as the Kitab al-Ghaiba of Sheikh Tusi and others. These are the very early sources of Islamic thought and hadith and literature. What does it say in one of the Imam's letters? The Imam says in one of his letters to his Shia, right, he wrote, is one of the first letters, some say, to Uthman bin Sa'id al-Umari, who was his first Na'ib and representative, right? After him was Muhammad bin Uthman. In this letter, what does the Imam say? There was a bunch of Shia that were confused and saying, well, we can't meet him, we can't see him, there's doubt as to whether he exists. Look at how the Imam begins. Before we get to the practical existence of Imam, what does the Imam say himself? He says, ظَنَنْتُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى أَبْطَلَ دِينَ. Do you think that God would invalidate his religion? That the existence of the Imam is what your Islam comes from and my Islam comes from. We are Muslim and Shia because of the Imam. Otherwise the deen would be batil. He says, ظَنَنْتُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى أَبْطَلَ دِينَ. He says, do you think that God would invalidate his religion by there not being an Imam? وَقَطَعَ السَّبَبَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ خَلْقِهِ. And he would cut off the cause, the reason, the purpose, or we would say the cause and the reason, or the means between him and his creation. السبب بينه وبين خلقه. Between him and his creation. The Imam is the sabab. This is just two examples. We have many other examples of this. In the Imam's own words, Sahib al-Zaman's own words. Not in an alim's words, not in what someone is saying, we think this is what the Imam is. No. This is in the Imam's own words. Or at least someone cannot say that Shias invent this concept. This is found in the early literature of Islam, or at least in the early literature of Tashayyu, narrated by our great scholars. Now, how does this work? Exactly. How does this operate? For that, let's go to the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُهُ وَنَفَقْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. That when I breathed into Adam from my spirit, of course this is symbolic, it doesn't breathe, this is just a literal translation. Basically when I gave Adam life, and I told the angels, فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Now prostrate to Adam. Let me ask you a question here. Simple question. Did Allah ask the malaika to worship Adam? I thought we should not do sajda to anyone but God. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, please. So what is the sajda for? Khidmah. That the angels are in the khidmah and the service of Adam. Nabi Adam, the first prophet. They are at his disposal. If this is the case of Adam, Nabi Adam alayhi salam, then what about Nuh? What about Ibrahim? What about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? What about Ali ibn Abi Talib? Who is greater, Adam or Ali ibn Abi Talib? Or let's not even leave greater. Let's say same level. They both have the same inspiration from God. But although we know he's greater, we're just saying for argument's sake. جعل الله الإمام واليا على كل الملائكة. This is our belief that the Imam is the wali over all the angels. This ayah is a proof of it. If the Imam is a wali over all of the angels, then when he is not seen, whether it be in the years and years of imprisonment of Imam al-Kadhim, how did Shiism continue? When so many Shia did not have access to the Imam when he was in the prisons of Baghdad. He had some representatives, yes, but how would he deliver messages to and forth? Did the deen disappear and then reappear? At the time of Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam? No. Or when the Imams were in Samarra, inaccessible, in a distant, far place, in-house arrest. Most of the Shia are either in Kufa or in Qom or in Saudi Arabia or Azerbaijan, we know. How did they continue? How did the deen continue? In two ways. Way number one is there were representatives. There were systems in place for the dispersion of the Imam's knowledge and the continuation of the deen of Rasulullah, of the religion as the millah as taught to us by Rasulullah. And number two, based on this ayah of Quran, based on our understanding of wilayah, which no Shia Ithna Ashari, this is not in dispute among the 12 Shias, for the vast majority of 12 Shias, I would say, never say 100%. The Imam has the angels at his disposal. It is a sajda of khidmah, of servitude. Thus, the Imam's operations are on the basis of a subtle knowledge, al-ilm khafi. And you can refer to the sources like Kamal ad-Din or Sheikh Saduq and others, page 287. In fact, Sheikh Muhammad Sanad, one of the great scholars of Najaf al-Ashraf, currently a Marja Taqlid, one of our Maraja and scholars of Bahth al-Kharij, has a whole book on, has a whole chapter in a book on this very subject, which is how does the Imam operate when he cannot be seen? This is not an issue for us. This is an issue when the Aqidah is not clear in understanding how the Imam operates. This has never been an issue for the Shia ulama, interestingly enough. You know that, right? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. This has never been an issue from the time of Kulaini ila yawmina hada to today. It's not been an issue of a crisis of belief or crisis of understanding. Maybe sometimes it's just not explained in a certain way, but so the light of the Imam, his knowledge, allows him to have certain kinds of operations and mechanisms that are unseen. And of course, it's different to when he reappears, as is Dhuhr. When he reappears, he will unite everyone's intellect and all of those things. Yes, we have traditions about those things. But even when he is not seen, physically, present but not seen, the work continues. Never stops. It's not like he's just sitting in a corner waiting. Okay, I'm going to wait until God tells me to come back, until God tells me to appear in a way that people can recognize me. It's not that he doesn't exist. He hasn't gone up like Jesus and he's going to come back. No. That's not what ghaiba means. Ghaiba just means he's not recognized. And it will be the Dajjal that will do two things. The Dajjal will try to uncover those hidden operations of the Imam. Because he knows that the Imam exists. He knows that his greatest enemy is the Imam. And number two, the Dajjal will present things using truth as a clothing for batil. So it's called the mixing of truths. It's a kind of sophistry, a kind of trickery with words. It can be very deceptive, just like the way human rights is used. Liberalism is used. Right? These are catchphrases. They're very light on the tongue, right? But they're used in ways that are so manipulative at times by the wrong people. Right? International order. Right? Words like this, what do they even mean? The international rules-based order. These are like Dajjalic terms. They're true in they have some truth. They're not patent fabrications per se. But they're mixed with just enough batil that you can take it in. And the Imam's deen and the hifz and the security of Islam will be such that it will always continue. Now, let's try to find an example from the Quran here. Let's go to Khidr, the story of Musa and Yusha bin Nun, and the story of the fish. Just to give you an example of how God works, the tadbir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The story of Musa and Yusha bin Nun. What happened? They forgot their fish. Their fish jumped back into the sea. The fish was their lunch. This is a story from the Quran. They reached the meeting point between the two scenes. فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ إِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. Why did they go back? Why did the fish go back in the sea that put them back and then they met? وَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. And they met who? Khidr. Musa and Yusha bin Nun met Khidr how? Because that fish went back into the sea. And they had to go back and retrace their steps. That fish was their sustenance. Allah engineers a situation in the way that the Imam can enter your life immediately. In the way that Khidr entered the life of Musa and Yusha bin Nun, was it planned in an official way? No. It wasn't. Did they have a set meeting place? No. But that fish was the cause of their meeting. And then as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and then they came across a servant from among our slaves, for whom we have bestowed him our mercy, a mercy from us, and we have given him a special hidden knowledge. Rahmatan min indina wa allamnahu min ladunna ilma. If this is the case of Khidr alayhi salam, what is the case of the Hujjat, the son of Al-Hasan al-Askari? Would we be that thing to think that he would not that the function would not be so subtle like this? Of course it is. The ulama know this. We know this. This is haqq, certainty for us. So him being unseen is different from being unrecognized. We have to first of all break this, or rather him being in ghaiba is different from him not being present and not being of use. This mental block has to be broken, cut out. It has to be, surgery has to be done, and this has to be removed. This is a cancer. This is a tumor in the hearts of the Shia, who have a lack of understanding of imamah because their deen is not strong. The understanding of the deen and the madhab and the principles from that time until now is not understood. And the interesting thing is that these are not things that the scholars argue about. There's many things that people might disagree on, but not on the things that matter most. At least among 99% of our maraja. You'll always find that one outlier, fine. That's in every it's, only in heaven the life will be, just so simple like that. So these are some of the subtle operations of the Imam. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
نعلى حيدري.
So, the Imam alayhi salam, I just want to give you an example of one of his communications. Did you know that the Imam of our time has prescribed a special supplication to be recited on the birth of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? In one of the most authentic and earliest books of dua known as Misbahul Mutahajjid was Silahul Muta'abbid by Sheikh Tusi, the founder of the House of Najaf al-Ashraf, who died around mid-400s Hijrah, if I remember, 460, maybe somewhere around there Hijrah. So about 1,000, just less than 1,000 years ago he lived. In this supplication, which goes back to Qasim ibn Ala al-Hamadani, who was the representative of the 12th Imam in Azerbaijan, there are and continues to be a very old and rich Shia community in Azerbaijan, going back to the time of Aimma Tahirin. Aimma did not only have those 4 special representatives, they had people that were in touch with them, as we could say, tier 2 representatives in other parts of the world. And we have their names in some of the books, like Sheikh Mufid mentions them in Al-Fusul al-Ashra. Okay? One of these people is Qasim ibn Ala, who was also among the Mashayikh of Kulaini and Al-Kafi. Kulaini narrates hadith from him in Al-Kafi. In this letter written to Qasim bin Ala, this was a hadiyah or a gift given by Imam al-Zaman to his beloved Qasim bin Ala al-Hamadani in Azerbaijan. Amazing. So the tradition tells us that the letter arrived to Qasim bin Ala. In this letter, the Imam gives glad tidings on the birthday of the Imam al-Hussein in the month of Sha'aban, as we know. And he says, this supplication is recommended to recite, where you say, "Oh Allah, Allahumma inni as'aluka bihaqqi al-mawlud fi hadha al-yawm al-ma'ud." That, oh Allah, I ask you for the right of the birth that has taken place on this promised day, في هذا اليوم الموعود بشهادته قبل استحلاله وولادته, that the one whose martyrdom was promised even before he was born. So the Imam al-Zaman here, the Imam of our time, is talking about the 12th, about Imam al-Hussein. بَكَّتْهُ السَّمَاء وَمَنْ فِيهَا وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ عَلَيْهَا. That the heavens and the earth and that which is in the heavens and the earth cried over that person whose birthday you are commemorating in Sha'ban, which is Imam al-Hussein. Then the Imam says, Qatilul Abra, that this is the one for whom every believer cries over. So this Qatilul Abra is again something from Sahib al-Zaman. It's narrated in other places, but also from the 12th Imam. Qatilul Abra, that Imam al-Hussein is the one that whoever thinks of him, they just fill with tears. Qatilul Abra. Of course, this is based on a narration where نظر أمير المؤمنين إلى الحسين فقال يا أبرة كل مؤمن. That Imam Ali looked at Imam al-Hussein, his son, and he says, "Oh, the one for whom every believer cries, أبرة كل مؤمن." And Hussein ibn Ali says, "Ya Abata." Ana ya Abata? Are you talking about me? Na'am ya bunayya. I'm speaking about you. That every mu'min will cry over you. سيد الأسرة الممدود بالنصرة يوم القرة المعود من قتله أن الأئمة من نسله والشفاء في تربته والفوز معه في أوبته. The Imam continues, Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman continues in this supplication. He says that you are the head of your family, denied help on that day that you were surrounded. But for the sake of you being killed, for the sake of Hussein being murdered and his shahadat, Allah would then determine that the Imams would be from his line. This is Allah's reward to Hussein for his martyrdom in Karbala. Think of this. This is Allah's المعوذ من قتله أن الأئمة من نسله والشفاء في تربته. So there are three rewards that Allah gives Imam Hussein, according to Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, in his own words, for the shahadat of Imam al-Hussein. Reward number one is the Imams will be from your nasl, from your descent, from your loins, from your DNA, from your descendants, right? التسعة من ذرية Hussein. Okay. Number two, your turba will have shifa in it. Right? And this is why we read in the traditions of the great scholars that have met the Imam, that on the day of Ashura, the Imam is taking the dirt of Hussein and saying, Wa Husseina, Wa Husseina. This is not unusual. Imam is saying, Shifa fi turbate. That the healing is in the turba of Hussein ibn Ali. وَالْفَوْزْ مَعَهُ فِي أَوْبَتِهِ. And Allah will allow Imam al-Hussein to come back. This is a doctrine of Raj'ah. This is a different discussion for a different time. But these are the three things that Allah has given to Imam al-Hussein. In exchange, or not, I wouldn't say in exchange, as a recompense, partly. This is not a complete. It doesn't mean it's a complete. It's a part recompense for his shahadat in Karbala. And another one we read is Al-Mahdi Tawusu Ahlul Jannah from the Prophet. This is in addition. This is not from the hadith of the Imam, but to add to this understanding. That the Mahdi is the Tawus of the people of paradise. So think, paradise is the epitome of beauty. In paradise, we read the face of Yusuf will shine in paradise. It will give off a light. The beauty of Isa will be at its full maximum peak. The beauty of Rasulullah, the beauty of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Yet the Prophet describes Al-Mahdi Tawusu Ahlul Jannah. The Mahdi is the Tawus of Jannah, is the peacock of Jannah. The peacock is the most beautiful of the birds, right? And the Mahdi is that you could think of the beautiful feathers of the peacock. Whoever looks at it is dazzled by it. And he is the Tawus of Ahlul Jannah. So the Tawus of Ahlul Jannah is telling us about the shifa in the turbat of Hussein. So do we know what the turbat of Hussein ibn Ali is? Subhanallah. وَالْفَوْزْ مَعَهُ فِي أَوْبَتِهِ وَالْأَوْسِيَا مِنْ عِطْرَتِهِ بَعْدَ قَائِمِهِمْ. And that the victory will be with, of course, the Qa'im. With the Savior, which is the Imam referring to himself now. بعد قائمهم وغيبته حتى يدركوا الأوطار ويثأروا الثار. Until such a point that the Imam says that every spilt blood will be avenged. Right? We read in another tradition from Imam Sadiq that when the Imam comes, يُطْلَبُ طِرَّةُ كُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ, that every spilt blood of every mu'min will be avenged with the Imam. This is after the dhuhr. During the ghaibah, the preservation of Islam, the keeping of Iman, the system of marja'iyat, the fact that we have access to guidance, that the Aqidah has stayed, that we have stayed on the path, that we are still remembering Imam al-Hussein, that we are here today, that we are crying for Hussein. All of this is due to Allah creating that sabab between the heavens and the earth. In the words of the Imam himself. So thus, we are here as Azadar of Imam al-Hussein because of the presence of Imam al-Zaman. So ask me not what the Imam does for you. What does he not do for you? What does the Imam not do for you? And someone would be ungrateful to ask such a question? If it's asked, of course, not out of sincerity, out of insincerity, or out of some, not of rejection of Aqidah. I'm not saying to ask a question, but I'm saying someone would ask a question in a way as if they know the answer to it already. In a sarcastic or nonsensical or an insincere manner, I mean. This is just jahl and ignorance. We know, this is the madhab of Imamiyya Ithna Ashariya. This is what we know from Aimma Tahirin. Not on the basis of Ayatollah Sistani or Ayatollah Fulan ibn Fulan. No, this is not based on any qawl of any marja or interpretation of some ulama. May we follow all of them and respect all of them. On our, as we say in Arabic, on our eyes, on our head, meaning we give full respect to them. Ala aini wa ra'si. This is from the kalam of Aimma. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then the Imam continues. He says, Allahumma wa kamma akramtana bi ma'rifatihi fakramna bi zulfatih. Oh Allah, just as you honored us by knowing the Imam, honor us by being raised with Imam Hussein. So Imam al-Zaman does tawassul to Allah through Imam Hussein. That's amazing. وَرَزُقْنَا مُرَافَقَتَهُ وَسَابِقَتَهُ. And bless us to be in his company and to be those that he respects. To be in the front row with Imam Hussein. But the road to Imam Hussein is through the Mahdi. We cannot arrive at him without the Mahdi. Why? Look at Ziyarat Ashura. وَاسْأَلُهَا أَنْ يُبَلِّغَنِي الْمَقَامِ الْمَحْمُودِ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يَرْزُقُنِي طَلَبَ ثَارِكُمْ وَثَأْرِكُمْ مَعْ إِمَامٍ مَهْدِيٍّ ظَاهِرٍ نَاطِقًا مِنْكُمْ. That, oh Allah, I ask you to give me a high status. How? To bless me to seek your vengeance with the Mahdi. Everything goes back to the 12th Imam. Our love, our commitment, our azadari, everything goes back to the 12th Imam. If he doesn't accept it, there's no shafa'at of Hussein. Azadari is not accepted. A'za is not makbul without the Imam of the time. It is indispensable. Because he's the living Imam. He's the one who will determine whether Allah has given him this role as the descendant from Ali Muhammad, as the Imam of the time. He's the one who will accept our condolences on his behalf to his grandfather Hussein ibn Ali. Who can claim that they mourn more than the Imam of the time? Nobody. Who can claim that they're in more pain than the Imam of the time? Nobody. Then he says, Allahumma bihaqqihim ilayka atawassalu. Oh Allah, Sahib al-Zaman says, by their haqq, that is my grandfathers, from Al-Askari all the way to the Prophet, I seek them as a means to reach you. وَأَسْأَلُ سُؤَالٌ مُقْتَرِفٌ مُعْتَرِفٌ مَسِيءٌ إِلَى نَفْسِهِ. I ask you from a soul that is full of sin. مِمَّا فَرَّطَ فِي يَوْمِهِ وَأَمْسِهِ. That his sins have filled the night and the day. That I ask you through that. Look at the powerful language here. وَجْعَلْنَا مِمَّنْ يُسَلَّمْ لِأَمْرِهِ. And make us from among those that submit to the Amr of Hussein. Meaning the Amr of Hussein and the Amr of the Mahdi are not any different. وَيُكَثِّرْ صَلَاةَ عَلَيْهِ عِنْدَ ذِكْرِهِ وَعَلَى جَمِيعِ أَوْسِيَائِهِ وَأَهْلِ أَسْفِيَائِهِ. Or rather here he's referring to the Prophet. So he switches here. And he goes back to the Prophet. And he says, in order to understand Hussein, we have to understand the Prophet. So make us among those that submit to the Prophet and to all the successors of him. Al-Mamdudin minka bi'adad ithna ashar, those who you have determined, O Allah, to be 12 nujum, radiant stars, nujum zahr. 12 radiant stars. وَحُجُجْ عَلَى جَمِيعِ بَشَرٍ, and the proofs upon all of your creation, all of mankind, humankind. Allahumma wab lana fi hadha al-yawm khayra mawhiba. So, oh Allah, on the day of the birth of Hussein, give us the best gift. وَأَنْجِحْ لَنَا فِيهِ كُلِّ طَلَبًا, and make every request of ours successful, just as you blessed Muhammad with Hussein. Subhanallah. Just as you gave the gift to Rasulullah, the gift of Hussein, I ask you in the name of that gift that you gave to the Messenger of Allah, and his name is Hussein. كَمَا وَهَبْتَ الْحُسَيْنِ لِمُحَمَّدْ جَدِّهِ. And I ask you, just as you عَادَ فِطْرُوس بِمَهْدِي, just as the fallen angel got his wing given back to him by the cradle of Hussein. This is a well-known narration from Kamil Ziyarat. عَائِذُونَ بِكَبْرِ مِنْ بَعْدِ نَشْحَدُ تُرْبَتَهِ. That in the name of that, now the mu'mineen come, they to gather around the grave of Hussein, testifying to the fact of the power in his turba. نَنْتَذِرُ أَوْبَةَ آمِينَ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, and we await his return. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I know I said I would mention a few things that we could do to get closer to the Imam in light of everything that I've mentioned, so I'll mention those things to you. This is based on the traditions, the books of scholars. First is Salatul Hajat. There's a special salat known as Salatul Hajat. If we really, all of us, and I speak to myself first and foremost, my own heart, in that salat, we put the needs of the Imams ahead of us. What are the needs of the Imam? To see justice in this world, to alleviate the suffering of the Shia, to alleviate the oppression of the descendants of Ali Muhammad and the Shia of Ali Muhammad, to give him surur. That in that Salat al-Hajat, even if your own or my own child is sick, my first thought is my Imam. My first request is for my Imam. Give sadaqah on his behalf before yourself, as we read in the traditions. I speak to myself first and foremost. Even if someone has asked you to give sadaqah on their behalf, you still put the Imam ahead. وَالدُّعَاء لَهُ قَبْلَ دُعَاء لَكَ, and you make supplication for him before yourself. وَقَدِّمْهُ فِي كُلِّ خَيْرٍ يَكُونُ وَفَاءً لَهُ. In every khair that you do, you put him at the front, you give him priority. That you say, oh Imam, you be a partner in this venture. I'm getting married, oh Imam, you be a partner. Or I have this business, oh Imam, you be a partner. He is your first partner in everything that you do. In the sense that you seek the blessings of Allah through him, because he is that sabab and that means that Allah has created for hidayat and existence. In his own words, as he said. مُقْتَدِيًا لِإِقْبَالِهِ عَلَيْكَ وَإِحْسَانِهِ إِلَيْكَ. That all of this is to prepare for two things. The iqbal of the Imam and the ihsan of the Imam. What is the iqbal of the Imam? The iqbal of the Imam is the Imam turning to us. From the word qubul, qabala, iqbal. The Imam turning to us, receiving our love. In order for there to be iqbal from the Imam, the mu'min has to present something. The mu'min has to live a certain way. They have to prioritize the Imam before themselves. And then after the iqbal of the Imam comes the ihsan of the Imam. وَإِحْسَانُهُ إِلَيْهِ. And his love, His beneficence towards you. And all of this is done, subhanallah, I don't have time to go through this, in the language of how the brothers of Yusuf spoke to Yusuf. After throwing him in the well, forgetting about him, and then they come back to him. I don't have time to go through the Quranic verses now. But they come to the Imam as the brothers of Yusuf came back to Yusuf, begging him for forgiveness, but knowing that he is a person filled with rahmah. So we say, "Oh Imam, you are filled with rahmah and I am filled with sin. Oh Imam, I know I have neglected you in my life. Oh Imam, I know all of this, but I know that you are more Rahim than Yusuf was to his own brothers. And my connection to you is closer to you than even Yusuf's brothers to him, even though I know I have wronged you. I know I have wronged you. But I know your ihsan and your love is greater than your justice." If this can be sorted out with the Imam, then Allah's mercy opens. This is the shart and the condition for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness for mu'mineen, for Shia. Because He is the sabab. He is the reason, the cause, بين المتصلة بين الأرض والسماء, in His own words. Or sabab بين الله وبين خلقه. So without His rida and His satisfaction and pleasure with us, how can the dua be accepted? How can the ziyarah of Hussein be accepted? How can the aza of Hussein be accepted? How? You tell me how theologically it would work. As 12 Imams. If we believe in 12 Imams, this aza, noha, marsiya, how is it accepted without the Imam's acceptance first? Based on our beliefs, if we are 12 Shia Imams, Imami Ithna Asharis. So now I hope I've explained in a very simple way the importance of the Imam of our time. And it is on this day and these days that we know, and I'll just wanted to share with you a poem tonight, a very brief poem from one of the books of the great ulama. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That there's a poem of that the ulama narrate. I wanted to share it with you. I couldn't find it here, but it very much describes the scene that we see in Ziyarat al-Nahiya al-Muqaddasa. In that, the Imam, oh yeah, here we go, I found it, okay. It's called Ash'ar an Lisan Hal Zainab. The poetry describing the situation of Zainab, but this is based largely on Ziyarat Nahiya al-Muqaddasa of Imam al-Zaman, where we say, Akhi ya akhi, ayy al-masa'ib ishtaki. That, oh my brother, which of the tribulations will I protest to Allah about? Or will I mourn about now? Firaquk am hutaki wa dhilli wa ghurbati. Will I talk about or protest about or be sad about losing you? The removal, hutaki, yani, the taking away of my dignity, my humiliation, or my loneliness. Amal thob masluba, or the clothes that were taken from your body, plundered. Amal jism ariya, or the body that is uncovered of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Jism ariya. Amal nahar manhura, or the throat that was slaughtered. Be safe in saqila, with the poisoned sword. Amma dhahar marduda, amma shayb damiya, or the back that is destroyed, the back that is shattered. Amma shayb damiya, or the beard that is turned red from blood, damia, covered in blood. أما الرأس مرفوعة كبدر دجية, or your head, when it was taken from your body, when you were decapitated, and it was lifted up, it was like the dark night, that even the light of the moon did not shine on the severed head of Hussein ibn Ali. أما الطفل مذبوحة, or the little Ali Asghar that was مذبوح, slaughtered. أما القلب دامية, or the heart that is broken or injured. أما الدم مصفوحة بكل تنوفة, or the blood that is coming out so fast that there's nothing that can stop it, it's just pouring out, Sayyidah Zainab describes. It's just gushing. She says, where do I begin? Do I talk about the gushing blood of my brother? Because we know that she stood watching her brother being butchered. She was crying over and over, begging Shimr not to kill him. Right? Telling Umar ibn Sa'd, Yo Umar ibn Sa'd, are you going to look at him while they kill him? Will my brother be killed? يُقْتَلُ أَخِي وَأَنْتَ تَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِ. My brother will be killed and murdered while you look at him. And Umar ibn Sa'd turned away. Think of that moment between Umar ibn Sa'd and Zainab bint Ali, begging for the life of her brother. Amal wajh, or then she says, Amar rihil man'uba amal mahr na'iya, or the belongings that have been stolen, or now the mahr na'iya. Mahr meaning this is another word for the horse, but the horse that is crying na'iya. It's bringing the news of death to us about its master, Hussein ibn Ali. Amal wajh makbuban li harr dhahira, or the face that is implanted into the sand, because some riwayat say that Imam was slaughtered from the back, from the neck bone. Min al-qafa. Amal abid al-sajjad adha mughallila, or about the servant Sajjad, Zain al-Abidin, who's now in chains. عليلا يقاسي في الفلا كل كربة وكربة, the sick one that is now being dragged through the desert. أما داعيات الفاقدات حواسرة, or all the ladies that have lost everything, in addition حواسرة, they are uncovered. كمثل الإماء يشهرن في كل بلد, now being taken like slaves to every town and every place. Now she ends. Oh, I'll get 2 more lines, mu'mineen, for you today. Let your tears go to Hussein ibn Ali for the sake of Sahib al-Zaman. أخي ليت هذا النحر كان بمنحري. She says, oh my brother, I wish this neck was my neck. That this neck that Shimr put his sword to, that he slaughtered. Right, as Imam Rida says, the Imam was slaughtered like a sheep. Kepsh, right? She says, I wish this throat was my throat. She said this many times. This is based on hadith, of course, right? She said this in a hadith. Meaning when she was speaking to her brother, she always insisted, may my life be given for yours. This was the bravery of Zainab bint Ali. These are the ayam Zainabiyya now. The days of Sayyidah Zainab. Ya layta hada saham kana bi muhjati. She says, if only that arrow that entered your heart, because we know they fired arrows into the chest of Imam Hussein. She says, if only that arrow entered my heart, oh my brother, but alas, it did not. And now I am here looking at you, because that arrow, instead of going into my chest, it went into yours. So now my sadness will be endless over you. Ala la'natullahi ala qawmi dhalimin, Matam Hussein.
Hay Abbas, Hay Abbas, Hay Abbas, Hay Abbas, Hay Abbas, عباس ہائے جلتے خیموں سے صدا آئی سر کرب و بلا ہائے عباس ہائے لو خبر جلد کے اب بستر سجاد جلا ہائے عباس ہائے تنہا 18 برادر کی بہن ہے بن میں نیند کیوں آ گئی ہے بھائی بتاؤ رن میں نیند سے جاگو چھنی زینب مضطر کی ردا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس میرے غازی میرے صفدر میرے میرے لشکر دیکھ بے آس ہے پردیس میں تیری خواہر کٹ گیا سبط پیمبر کا بھی سجدے میں گلا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس بین کرتی ہوئی لاشیں پہ چلی آؤں گی جتنے ناسور کلیجے میں دکھلاؤں گی میری تقدیر میں کچھ بھی نہیں اشکوں کے سوا ہائے عباس ہائے میرا اکبر میرا قاسم میرا اصغر نہ رہا دو میرے لال تھے دونوں میں سے کوئی نہ بچا نہ کوئی بھائی بھتیجا نہ کوئی ہے بیٹا ہائے عباس عباس ہائے عباس بھائیوں سے تو بڑی آس ہوا کرتی ہے ہر بہن بھائی کے حق میں یہ دعا کرتی ہے عمر لگ جائے میری زندہ رہے بھائی میرا ہائے عباس ہائے عباس ہائے عباس نوحہ ریحان یہ زینب کا تھا بادے عباس کیوں نہیں کرتے ہو عباس ہمارا احساس قافلہ بے سر و سامان سوئے شام چلا ہائے عباس 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 حسین یا 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 حسین نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے شاہ تو آئے جانے مادر تم نہیں آئے نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر نہیں آئے، پیاس سے روتا ہے یہی جانا، پیاس سے روتا ہے یہی جانا، کس کو کوئی بھی نہ پہچانا، کس کو کوئی بھی نہ پہچانا، دے دی رضا ماں نے تمہیں دل بھر، دے دی رضا ماں نے تمہیں دل بھر، تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، ہنستے ہوئے خیمے پہ ستارے، ہنستے ہوئے خیمے پہ ستارے، پیش نظر ہیں سارے نظارے، پیش نظر ہیں سارے نظارے، کھو گیا کیا میدان میں جا کر، کھو گیا کیا میدان میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، کب سے کھڑی ہوں خیمے کے در پر، کب سے کھڑی ہوں خیمے کے در پر، آنکھوں میں لے کر اشکوں کے ساگر، آنکھوں میں لے کر اشکوں کے ساگر، پیش کروں آ جاؤ اصغر، پیش کروں آ جاؤ اصغر، تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، تم نے اشاروں میں یہ کہا تھا، تم نے اشاروں میں یہ کہا تھا، دے دی رضا مقتل کی خدا را، دے دی رضا مقتل کی خدا را، کر کے میں فتح آؤں گا لشکر، کر کے میں فتح آؤں گا لشکر، تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، تیر لگا ہے کیا گردن پر، تیر لگا ہے کیا گردن پر، کیوں نہیں دیکھا ماں کو پلٹ کر، کیوں نہیں دیکھا ماں کو پلٹ کر، کون سی مجبوری تھی اصغر، کون سی مجبوری تھی اصغر، تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، نن مجاہد رن میں جا کر تم نہیں آئے، یا حسین 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 یا حسین
پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات، متوجہ زیارت۔ السلام علیک یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیک یا ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیک یا ابن امیر المؤمنین وابن سید الوسیین، السلام علیک یا ابن فاطمة الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين. السلام عليكما يا حسن والحسين سيد شباب أهل الجنة. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. سيدي عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليك يا أبو الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا سائر شهداء كربلاء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Brothers and sisters, please prepare for namaz. We have a few minutes.
Announcement after the prayer is going to have a rook outside.
Yeah.
But if they want to stay, they can stay, and we'll have the Q&A right here.
Okay, so. But brothers and sisters, right after Salah, there's Tabarruk, and after Tabarruk, there's a Q&A session. At the same time, actually, there's a Q&A session. You can collect your Tabarruk and come inside. You're not allowed to eat inside though, but you can keep it with you to attend Q&A. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى. أشهد أن علي